Hey, govannen, niblings. Let's play LotRO, episode 81. So I'm picking up where I was on the last episode.
Greetings.
And that is with this quest, where Aragorn has just said that he wants to reforge Narsil, his sword. So there's going to be a lot of reading in this quest. So take your time, pause the video, and read if you want. I'm going to try to summarize as much as I can. So, he says his father was slain with orcs when he was young. He was called Estil by his family and the elves. He considered Elrond to be like a father after his own father died. When he was 20, Elrond told him that he was one of the true heirs of Elendil. Elendil being of the line of kings of Gondor. It gave me the ring of Barahir and the shards of Narsil, but withheld the scepter of Illuminus. Soon afterwards, he went in search of a Silithar with which Narsil might be reforged. He didn't pass the test that was before him, but he has a message for Elrond right now. He wants me to take it to him. The message is, "I know now what Gwyndeth sought of me in the watery darkness, and I am prepared to give it. Elendil was a wiser man than I." Alright, so he wants me to go say that to Elrond. This is going to be a pretty lore-heavy episode, just so you know. I don't know that there will even be any fighting in it at all. And it's going to tie very heavily into the books. So, if you're not as interested in the lore and the story, then this might not be the episode for you. Also, if you haven't read the books, I guess this is a little bit spoilery, but honestly, if you haven't read the books, I'm not really sure that this game would interest you much. I mean, it's a cool game. I know people play it who haven't read the books, but it really does cater to fans of the books in a lot of ways. Rivendell is just very, very pretty. I'm always happy when my quests bring me here. It's going to be a bit of writing back and forth, just like I just did there in this episode, just because I happen to know what this quest chain does. I still need to pick up the next epic quest line. But maybe Elrond gives me that. I can't remember. If I don't find it in this episode, I'll look up where I need to get it.
Will you lend me your aid once more?
Okay.
Will you lend me your aid once more?
Aragorn was only 2 when his father was killed. His mother brought him to Imladris. Imladris is the elven name for Rivendell. They decided to keep his birth a secret from Sauron and Sauron's forces. And they called him Estil, which means hope. So, I guess the idea is that they were hoping that with the death of Aragorn's father, that the enemy would think that the line of Elendil had ended, and that there was no king left to retake Gondor, which is something that Sauron was concerned about. When he was 20, he told him all this. Aragorn already told us this. But then he encountered Arwen and was stricken with love. He's not really sure why he went to Annúminas. That wasn't really a necessary trial in Elendil's or in Elrond's eyes. But something that happened there changed Aragorn. Return to Aragorn and tell him that I agree that the time has come for Narsil to be reforged, and it will be given a new name, Andúril, Flame of the West. Okay. So that all seems pretty good. Basically, Aragorn has Elrond's blessing to reforge the sword. And I don't think Aragorn really needs his blessing, but, you know, like I said, Aragorn sees Elrond as a father figure. Worth noting, Elrond is actually Aragorn's great times, like, 50 uncle. Aragorn and Elrond are descended from the same line. And I can't remember exactly how Elrond is related to Elendil, but rather closely related. They may have been brothers, or Elrond might have been Elendil's uncle. I'm not sure. While I'm doing another of these horse rides, I'll grab my book and look it up.
Greetings.
Okay, so he's glad for this. Elrond's opinion is important to him. It's true that he went to Annúminas. And Annúminas is where some of the kings of Arnor kind of sat for a while. I think it was once the capital of Arnor before it was moved to Fornost, if I'm remembering correctly. I may be remembering some of this wrong. I was never good with history. Okay. So, he thought that if he recovered the Silithar in Annúminas, then it might kind of prove him worthy of his fate. Just kind of a weird concept if you think about it. Do you need to prove yourself worthy of your fate? Elladan and Elro here also accompanied him. Those are Elrond's sons. As did Callanglad, who is another ranger, and I guess that would make him a descendant of the Númenóreans as well. Dunedain. Callanglad knew who Aragorn was, it looks like, because Callanglad knew that the oath that he had sworn to Aragorn's father, who was the captain of the Rangers, would have been inherited by Aragorn. So it looks like Callanglad knows Aragorn's secret. Or knew it at a young age, anyway. Or maybe he had just learned it. It's actually not clear. The lake has flooded Annúminas, he says. But when he went to find the Silithar, the maiden Gwyndeath, and now it's important to note, the words they use to describe Gwyndeath makes her sound human, but she's not. She's not even mortal. She is an embodiment of the land, the spirit of the land, that kind of thing. He didn't pass Gwendeth's test, and he didn't find the Silithar. He thinks he understands why he failed.
Greetings.
Right, so he wants me to take a letter to Calenglad. He says he hasn't seen Calenglad in a while. Calenglad stayed in Enuminus, or near Enuminus, rather, in Evendim. I offered to free him from his oath. Calenglad said no, and that he would stay there and keep watch. Calenglad is at Tinudir, which is near Enuminus. He mentions that he can't go himself because he's busy with something even more important, which we would know that is the gathering of the Fellowship of the Ring. But Hvila specifically has not been told that yet, but the player knows at this point, usually. Alright, can you bring my words to Calenglad? Yeah, that's pretty much what he says. So he's got a letter here that he's letting me read, even. So, again, I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can pause the video and read it if you want. Just saying he needs to reforge Narsil in the very wordy speech that is common in the books. It's something I think that the writers of the books do a really good job of making everything sound like something Tolkien would have written. So yep, he says he seeks the Silithar, but Gwendeth must give her approval, or he's not really saying why, but just that it's important. The bearer of this letter acts as my agent, so Hvila is the bearer. Right. And he says that there's a test to verify its authenticity. Alright, so I have to go to Calenglad, who is in Evendim. So, let me go to the stable master. And I'm going to look up when the next epic book starts. Because I'm a little concerned that I might be missing it. And I should have looked this up before I started the episode. But I can do it while I'm doing travel. Okay, epic quest line. I'm looking this up on LotRO Wiki, as I have in the past. I don't have the forward yet.
What do you need?
It does start in Rivendell, it looks like. Oh, you know what? I may be too low level to get it. I think that's why I'm not seeing it. Alright, so... Wow. No swift travel to Bree. I keep forgetting about that. It's locked until level 40. So, I could just use my return to Bree, but I think I'm going to use the swift travels that I do have. I can swift travel to Ostgaruth, and then from there swift travel to Bree. So, while it's doing this, let me grab my book. And I will figure out exactly how I'll look up the appendix of the line of Elendil.
What do you need?
Just because I'm curious, really. Okay, so I've got the Return of the King out here. And I'm opening it to the appendices. I'm trying to remember which appendix I need to go to. But I believe there might be an index for the appendices. No, it looks like there isn't an index. But Appendix A, I think, might be what I'm looking for. Alright, there's a lot going on in Bree, so I'm going to lag a little bit. Is there anywhere else I can go? No, it looks like I need to go to... West Bree. Okay. Alright, okay.
What do you need?
I haven't found what I'm looking for in the books. So, Tinudir here in Evendim is where I need to go. But it's an undiscovered route. So, what I think I'm going to do... you know, at this point, I'm just going to end the episode because it's going to take me a while to ride up to, all the way to Evendim. So I'm just going to start riding as close as I can get. Here, I can at least talk about the travel route I'm going to take. So I'm going to go all the way up to Trestle Bridge. Here, Trestle Bridge. And then I'll take the Trestle Bridge stable route to Amon Wraith. And then I'm going to start riding through the Fields of Fornost, which I quested in before. It's where all those shades were. And then there's kind of a tricky part that I can slip through to get into Evendim here. And then I can take this road all the way to Tinudir. And all I'm going to be doing is riding on my horse, so it's not very interesting. So I'll start the next episode as I'm approaching Tinudir. So, see you then, Niblings.